Yo, what's up, guys? What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Hold on, let me give it a little bit more light in here. Give me 1 second. What is happening, everybody? Big news today. Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather rematch. I mean, way overdue, but I don't think anybody really wanted it that bad, even back then. Let me turn this light on. All right, let's get it. Who's in the chat, man? What's up, Romeo? What's going on? Um, so I'll wait till a few more people come in and we'll start talking about Floyd and Manny Pacquiao. We're also going to talk a little bit about Manny Pacquiao and Ruslan Provatnikov, who's also fighting each other in April. And then Floyd and Mike Tyson is supposed to be fighting each other at some point um in this spring or whatever. Man, I don't know what is going on, man. I mean, I'm all for people getting their money, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. But it's gonna be really hard for anyone to turn down a Netflix fight. Like I can only imagine what they're getting paid to fight each other. And if the rumors are true about either one of these guys struggling a little bit financially, I mean, when I say struggle, we're not talking about struggle like you and I struggle. I mean, like rich people struggles, tax issues and stuff like that. Maybe then it's a good thing that they're getting the bag to fight. We know Mike Tyson's been getting the money, and a lot of guys has been in exhibitions, including those two. Those two have been involved in a lot of exhibitions, and I actually looked it up before I started this live. Floyd Mayweather, I didn't even realize Floyd had this many exhibitions. Let's see, let's scroll down. He's had 8 exhibitions. I mean, and that's since Conor McGregor, which wasn't an exhibition, but you would think it was, but it's actually a recorded win for Floyd Mayweather. In fact, it's his 50th win. um, but since then, in the last 10 years, since you know what? Yes, I think we're approaching 10 years now since that fight. He's been involved in 8 different exhibitions. One against Tenshin, which was a fake fight, in my opinion. Logan Paul, Don Moore. I don't even remember that one. Mikura, Sakura, Deji. I think I remember that one vaguely. Aaron Chalmers, and we all remember the John Gotti the third, first and second fight because the first one ended up being a brawl, and then they went on to have a rematch. And Manny Pacquiao has had, let's see, how many exhibitions did he have? He had 3 exhibitions, and then he returned to fight Mario Barrios, but he hasn't been retired as nearly as long as Floyd. All right. So, what do you guys like? First of all, before we get started, if you are new here, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Also, if you are here, and then everybody that's here, please hit that thumbs up for me. Do me that favor and smash the like button for me real quick. All right. So what do you guys think about this news? Are you guys excited? Do you guys not really care? I mean, it's gonna be a big deal, at least leading up to the fight. It's gonna be a big deal. May not be a big deal now, but it's gonna be a big deal the week of the fight. You know what I mean? They're gonna definitely promote the hell out of the fight. They're gonna dump a lot of money on the fight. And it's obviously not gonna be nearly as big as the first one, but they're gonna try to do numbers. I don't think it's even gonna do the numbers that Mike Tyson did, you know. But they may do more numbers than Joshua and Jake Paul. I think the target is to probably get more numbers than that. Um, they're not gonna. There's no way they're gonna beat Jake Paul and Tyson. And Mike Tyson is a different level. Like, you know what I mean? Like 100 million views. They're not gonna beat that. Not with this fight. Um, yeah, I saw that, Ralph. I seen that. Inoue and Nakatani too. And I'm gonna do a video. I'm gonna talk about that in the future. Um, hold on one second. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna talk about that fight soon. Um, and give my thoughts. I think a lot of people kind of written Nakatani off because he didn't perform that well in his last fight. But we'll talk about that soon. I'll let you guys know how I feel about that fight. But I'm glad it's still happening, because I still want it to happen. I still think it'll definitely still be the biggest fight in Japan. But the schedule is kind of crazy. We have a really, really active, like we have a really um good schedule coming up. I mean, the year has been so far, with the Shakur, I think the Shakur Tiafimo was probably the card or the fight of the year so far, as far as like hype. Ryan Garcia fighting Mario Barrios had some hype, but it had an excellent undercard. But I think this schedule is a lot of fights. There's a lot of exhibitions. There's a lot of a little bit of everything. You know what I'm saying? Why does my camera look like this? It's bothering me. Let me fix the light on here real quick. All right, a little better. A little better. A little too bright though. Shit. All right. So anyway, so what do you guys think, man? What do you guys think about these fights? Um, and I'm also going to throw the link out there just in case anyone wants to join up and chat. But me personally, I guess I'll kick things off. I talked about this the other day. I talked about this the other day about Floyd. I don't think it was planned for Floyd to come back. And the little bit of details, if you don't know, Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather rematch is scheduled for September. Okay. It's a September date. Floyd already has a fight scheduled with Mike Tyson. Manny Pacquiao has a fight scheduled with Ruslan Provodnikov. We don't know the weight yet. Okay. So let me just make that clear. We don't have an actual weight yet that this fight is going to be at. Okay. So we don't know which weight. We know Manny Pacquiao did fight Mario Barrios at 147. Can Floyd make 147 anymore? I have no idea. Also want to add that Floyd's last exhibition was against John Gotti III a couple years ago. And in that fight, he was 160. Okay. I'm assuming it's gonna be, yeah, I'm thinking it's gonna be 154. I'm not saying Floyd can't get down to the weight, but it's gonna be anywhere between 147, 154. I don't see this fight being below 150, you know. It is what it is. Now I don't know if Floyd has any kind of intentions of fighting for a title. I can see him fighting for a title if the title is there for an easier, target like a Mario Barrios recently, what Manny Pacquiao tried to do, and many people believe he should have won the fight. Me, I wasn't really so angry at the draw. You know what I mean? I don't think Barrios really won. I don't think Pacquiao really won either. It was just like whatever with me, you know. But um, how do I feel about the whole thing? Well, I'm just hoping it's not out of desperation, you know. If these guys just want to do it because it's still they don't want to do anything else, and it's just the competitive nature of wanting to do it and making the money off doing what they know, the one that the thing that they know. um then it is what it is, you know what I mean? Because a lot of older guys come back, because they need the money. I'm really hoping that's not the case for neither one of them. You know, even though Pacquiao recently came back, I'm hoping that it's not the case for either one of them. But with Floyd, finding out about the lawsuit, you know, against Showtime and Steven F. Sonoza and Al Heyman being involved in that, uh, it's a coincidence how this fight is announced now, that we know about the lawsuit, and there's just been rumors of Floyd having financial issues. Okay. Again, like I said on the live the other day, I don't think Floyd is broke by any means, but I also don't, I never thought he was as rich as he made himself out to be, you know? Um, it just proves that the money that was claimed to be made in those purses and those big fights with Pacquiao and Conor McGregor, I don't think he got anywhere near that amount of money that they were saying that he was getting. You know what I mean? And I'm not even talking about the fees that every fighter gets, you know, that comes out of fights. I don't believe that Floyd really got all that money. You know what I mean? It is what it is. I never thought that Floyd was just big time investor. You know, I compared him to a few other people out there like that we know are good investors, like Magic Johnson. I'm talking about athletes, you know, Magic Johnson and Shaquille O'Neal and Michael Jordan. You know what I mean? I never put Floyd in that place. You know, it's just with him and the things he got involved in, it just didn't seem the same as the other guys that retired from the game and the way they were moving their money publicly. Okay. Not saying that Floyd didn't make money on the side doing other things. But I never thought that he was a billion. I mean, as much money as he made in the sport, he should have been billionaire status a long time ago. You know what I mean? If you're gonna make hundreds of millions in one fight, then you should be a billionaire easily. You know, I mean, in some way, somehow, some way, you probably should have turned that into 5 billion at this point. You know what I mean? Like, you should be much more rich, much richer than a lot of other athletes out here with the money you made. And I just think that it is what it is it is what it is. You know, I think so now I think it's too bright. Yeah, I just I don't know. You know, I really just think things are not great. And I think he needs it. And I think that with Manny Pacquiao, I don't know with Manny Pacquiao. I think it could be the same thing. Maybe it's financial issues. Maybe it's just that he doesn't know how to do anything else. You know what I mean? And I think that a lot of athletes, especially boxers, man, these guys are fighters at the end of the day. They still have their competitive nature. You know, even like listening to Andre Ward, Ward, you know, he talks about it a lot on his podcast, different interviews that he have, and his itch of wanting to return and watching the money that's being given out right now. And this is in Floyd and Manny and even Mike Tyson's defense. When you're sitting back and you're seeing, I'm talking about the active young fighters, whether, you know, watching them get paid, watching influencers get paid the amount of money they're getting paid when you probably made 10% of what your highest purse might have been 10% of what some of these other fighters are getting right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's got to make you feel away, especially because Some of these guys didn't retire that long ago. It's just that you miss the money train. And there's guys like Andre Ward legit has a very good resume, right? Even if you think he should have did more, or if you feel a way about certain fights he had, Andre Ward never made the bag that some of these young fighters are making, and he did much more. He was very accomplished, and his resume is solid. Yet you're sitting back, retired not too long ago, and you're watching this money being made by all of these guys that are ducking and dodging, that are not even that skilled. It gotta make you feel away. It does. And maybe there isn't no real hard financial issues going on. Maybe these guys are looking at the opportunity to make money, a lot of money in one night, and they're going for it and doing the one thing that we all know that they're good at. Again, I don't think Floyd is the greatest investor. I don't think Manny Pacquiao is neither. We already know how Mike Tyson is financially. All right. Um, so I can understand why they're coming back and getting it done. Ruslan Provodnikov is supposed to be fighting Manny in April. Ruslan has been retired. Like, I saw one of his last fights. I actually went to the fight with him in Matisse, and I don't even think that was his last fight. I think his last fight was I can't remember, but Ruslan, he gave Tim Bradley a classic fight, probably the fight of the year that year. And then he lost a few fights. He lost against Algeria. I think the Algeria performance was probably the last good performance from him. And after that, I think he lost a couple more fights. I mean, very durable fighter, but he hasn't been active in a long time. But I'm sure he's probably getting a good check to fight Manny Pacquiao. And it's at this point, that fight is a tune-up for Manny Pacquiao. It's a tune-up, it's a tune-up. So, um, they both. There's another thing too I want to add, because Floyd, obviously, he's only had exhibitions, right? So I don't think Floyd, even in between, even though he's getting older, I still think he can be more fit than what we've seen him throughout these exhibitions. If you guys understand what I'm saying. Like, for example, Manny Pacquiao came back to fight Mario Barrios, last year for a title. I think Manny Pacquiao looked better in that fight than he did in his exhibitions. So whatever we've seen in Floyd, and we know Floyd is about to hit 50, whatever we've seen in Floyd in the past decade in these exhibitions, I think he's going to be in better shape than he was in those fights, even though he was still younger. So when he fights Mike Tyson, and then when he goes to fight Manny Pacquiao, he's going to be in better shape. He's going to be in the best possible shape he can be for a 49-year-old. And I think for Pacquiao, whatever age he is, Pacquiao is what, 47? I know he's like a couple years younger than Floyd. He's going to be in the best shape that he could be. Yeah, he just turned 47. So they're going to be in the best shape. And being that these guys are still great athletes, I mean, from watching Floyd, his exhibitions, watching Manny and his exhibitions and his fight, yes, they're old. No, they're way super past their prime, but they're still really, really good. And being that they were extreme super athletes, it still holds a little weight. Same with Mike Tyson. If you were a super athlete in your prime years and you can do things and move ways and have speed and explosiveness in your style that most fighters ever just didn't have, then even at this old age, if you're good and you're fit and you didn't take too much damage, you're going to still be explosive. Mike Tyson at 60 is still explosive. Floyd at 49 is still twitchy. You know what I'm saying? Always has that good defense. Manny Pacquiao is still really fast for 47 years old and still faster than a lot of these guys. So, it is what it is. It's not going to be, it is what it is. People are going to still tune in, just like we tune in for the other old fights. We're still going to tune in. I'm going to go live. We're going to watch it. Hopefully, they have a decent undercard, and I think that's very important for these fights. Put something on the undercard that we want to check out, just in case if the old man flop again, because the first fight was not that entertaining. If they flop, then at least we get a good solid undercard on that Netflix card. What's up, D Style? What's going on? Zamara says, I don't think this is a competitive fight. Mayweather's better preserved. Boss just said these guys have been fighting professionally since before most of these current champions were brought. It's true. Boss just said hopefully the undercard is good. He says you wish that the fight wasn't happening. I mean, I'm not surprised. You know, again, it's about the money. If Netflix wants to throw them a bag for these old geezers to get back in and fight, I mean, it is what it is. And I explained this the other day when I was on a live, and I was like, listen, you know what I feel about this, and that goes for Mike, Manny, and Floyd. This is how I felt when Jordan came back as a wizard. Even as a kid then, I didn't want to see Michael Jordan come back as a wizard. Now I was a little excited for it at the time when I finally saw like him getting ready and you know what I mean? Like I saw the little clips they were showing him in the gym. So I was a little excited, but once I saw it and I saw a couple of games, I didn't commit to watching him as a wizard like I committed to watching him as a Bulls player. You know what I'm saying? And it just became like, all right, like I watch a game here and there. If there was highlights of a good game, I'll watch it here and there. But that's how I feel about Floyd and Manny. Like Floyd had exhibitions, right? And even though Floyd is one of my favorite fighters of all time, he had exhibitions that like I forgot about. I woke up and I opened up YouTube and it was the first video that popped up. And then I would click and watch it. But it wasn't no excitement there, and that's how I feel about this. It's like, I mean, yeah, it's a Netflix fight, and I cover fights now, so I'm gonna watch it and cover it live because it's Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao. At the end of the day, two legends. But am I excited? If they told me tomorrow that the fight is off because they couldn't settle to a certain amount of money or whatever, I'm not gonna be disappointed at all. I'm not gonna lose sleep at all. I still want to see all the active young fighters that's active right now fight over these two. Like they already had their time. They already had their time. You know what I mean? So that's how I feel about that. You said this is worse than Leonard and Hearns 3. I mean, I hear you. Um that fight had nothing like at that time when that happened, I didn't even know. So I hear you on that. Uh I hear you. I'm trying to think of other examples when guys came back when I just wasn't interested, you know. Now Mike Tyson, when he came back, I didn't want it neither because Mike had fell off dramatically in the 2000s. So when he was still fighting those years, I was still excited to see him. But when he returned to fight Roy Jones, I didn't want to see it. Roy Jones had already got knocked out a bunch of times. And these are my top two favorite fighters. Mike, had got stopped and then took a long period of just not fighting. So I didn't want to see it. I thought it was dumb. I really didn't want to see Mike Tyson and Jake Paul because I knew Jake Paul was going to win, and I didn't want him getting credit for beating Mike Tyson. And I actually think that that fight was just a freaking humiliation ritual, especially what he was walking around with his pants down and stuff, and the camera caught it. I just hated that fight. I hate everything about that fight. Shane Mosley always has different strange opinions on whatever, you know. I mean, Shane, um, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that opinion, you know. Uh I think everybody's entitled to their opinion. You know what I mean? Like, I think saying that Crawford is gonna beat Mayweather in their primes is not crazy because I do think that Mayweather. What I will say is that Mayweather beats everybody on Crawford's resume, but I think Crawford beats everybody on Mayweather resume. I do. But I think I think Floyd had a tougher career than Crawford. You know, like Floyd had a I think the fighters that Floyd fought was a little better consistently. I would say that. Um, but I also think that Crawford, I would favor him to beat those guys. It's just that they would have been tougher fights. You know how Crawford only has knockouts and unanimous decisions? I don't know if Crawford would have had a unanimous decision in all of those fights if he had moved up in a similar time and fought those guys that Floyd fought. On the other hand, I'm very confident that Floyd would have beat all the guys that Crawford fought. I mean, you know, he beat Canelo earlier. You know, I think he definitely want to beat Spence, but not nearly as bad. Um, Crawford is a better fighter. He's definitely a better fighter between the two. I think he's funner to watch. You're gonna get you're gonna get the sweet science mixed with more versatility and more power. Like Crawford is trying to stop you while outboxing you at the same time. With Floyd, though, it's just like his defense was so superb. It's just like, it's very hard to deal with him. You know what I mean? Um, but they both are masters at adjusting too. Like I can see why. I can see Crawford beating Floyd. I can see him beating Floyd because he brings more to the table than these other guys. But I just think that Floyd had a tougher career, in my opinion. D Style thinks he says, will Mauricio create a special belt for the fight? Probably. Absolutely. Yeah, you know how that goes, man. Absolutely. Let's see. Floyd against Pacquiao. Yeah, he's gonna name it. Yeah, it's gonna be some legends only type title went online. Yeah, he said, yeah, senior citizen diamond belt. Yeah. It's gonna be something like that. Um, yeah, some stupid belt will be on the line. Um, early predictions. Early predictions, everybody. What do you guys got? Manny, I guess he's been a little bit active at a professional level because he's just coming off a championship fight. Floyd has had a ton of exhibitions, but no quality, no real quality exhibitions. I think the toughest exhibition for Floyd was the Logan Paul fight. That was probably the toughest one because of the size difference. Uh, but I have Floyd winning, like, again. I think Floyd Floyd's is better to me, and even though he's older, um, I just think he's gonna just edge him out again. You know, that's my pick. Uh, he wins on points again. Uh, that's it. Um, I think he beats Mike Tyson too. I think Mike is gonna be just dealing with. I mean, I think the one thing I question about Floyd is his legs in both fights. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna have to work more in those fights than he has had to in these exhibition fights. You know what I mean? I think the legs is the one thing I wonder about. Like Pacquiao still has quick legs. I mean, he has those huge calves. Um, but yeah, Floyd beats Mike. He was gonna pepper him up for 10 rounds or whatever it's gonna be, 10, 8 rounds. And Pacquiao and Floyd would probably be a 10 rounder too. That's another thing in the article I read. They had no weight, which I think is gonna be above 150, and they didn't have an amount of rounds yet announced. Um, as far as Pacquiao and Ruslan Provodnikov, that's just gonna be a tune-up. It's gonna be a tune-up. I think Pacquiao is gonna be taking it easy on Ruslan. I mean, that's really like an exhibition at this point. You know what? Let me bring up something. I'm actually surprised that they're making the Mike Tyson fight with Floyd as an exhibition. I'm surprised that Floyd, when they announced that he's gonna retire, I assumed that Floyd would have wanted the Mike Tyson win to be on his resume, but he doesn't. That fight is still going to be an exhibition. You guys get what I'm saying? Like the Pacquiao fight is going to be a recorded win or loss. The Mike Tyson fight is still an exhibition. Okay, it doesn't count. So even though the news broke that he's unretiring, only one of the fight with Pacquiao, is going to be a recorded fight. So yeah. And Manny, I believe the Ruslan Provodnikov fight is definitely an exhibition. Now, I don't know what platform Manny against Ruslan is going to be on, but I believe Floyd and Tyson. I'm not even sure. I think CSI Sports. I don't know what platform that's gonna show that fight. Um, I guess CSI Sports. I don't know, but it's not gonna be on Netflix. At least I don't think it will be. All right. Is there any old fights do you guys want to watch? I mean, I'll say this, and I'm trying to be a little positive here. If Floyd's gonna come back and fight anybody, it should probably be Manny Pacquiao. You know what I mean? At this point, I don't want them fighting for titles, active titles. I don't want any more of that. I know Pacquiao did it last year and he did good. I don't want to see it. Um, but since they are coming back, I think this is the proper fight to come back and take. You know, um, and that's it. I don't. I remember at one point Marquez and Cotto was supposed to come back. Uh, that didn't happen, but that would have been a good fight. That's a fight I wanted to see. I wanted to see Marquez and Cotto. Uh, being that they both were at top rank for a time and they both was at 147 at one time, or different times. It's a fight I've always been interested in seeing. Um, I definitely don't want to see any more Shane Mosley fights. No more Shane Mosley fights. No more Shane. No more Roy. Definitely no more Roy Jones fights. Please, no more Roy Jones. Like the guys that, nah, yeah, nah. I have those Jordan ones, but they're over there. I don't have them on my feet because I don't wear shoes in my house. What's up, Amir? Man, I made sure I woke up and got you. I had removed you by accident the other day on the live, but I went through the settings and found you on there and unhid you. So I apologize about that the other night. The way this StreamYard is set up is very easy to hide the wrong account. 2026 is shaping up to be a phenomenal year. It is shaping up to be, I don't know if it's going to be the best year, but it's shaping up to be a really good year. And all I could say is that I hope that it continues to be this way. You know what I mean? Um, there's a few things though. I just hope that we don't keep getting cancellations. All right, like we did with Carlos Adames, like we did with Richardson Hitchens. Um, I hope that we don't get continue to get fighters um missing weight on purpose. I don't want to keep getting those neither. Um, yeah, that's just my that's my thing with that. I still want to get quality fights. Um, I'm still curious to see what this Zufa thing comes out to be. And yeah, I just want to get quality fights still. Um, yeah, I seen that wave. He says Ralph says Adamas against Williams is March 21st. Cool. Put Hitchens and Duarte on that card as well. But you know what? Nah, you know what? Scratch that. I don't even want to see that fight. I want to see Hitchens go up to 147. He has no business still fighting at 40. You know what I mean? We already heard you complain in a Lemos fight that you had issues making weight, and now you're vomiting and stuff, saying you got food poisoning. Bro, just go up to 147, bro. Please, just go up and just that's it, you know? So that's how I feel about that. Uh Deflex, to answer your question about Jordans, the 11s are my favorite. Um because when they first originally came out in the city in New York, I mean, obviously they would have hottest sneaker out anywhere, but I had never wanted a sneaker as bad as those first pair of 11s, the white and black ones, even the breads that came out. Um, those sneakers were the biggest sneakers at the time to ever come out. And my mother, I remember I was still living in the city at the time, and my mother was driving me to every sneaker store. She probably gonna laugh if she's watching this. She might watch it later. She probably gonna laugh because she always say I remember everything. But I remember her taking me to every sneaker store in the Bronx, trying to find those sneakers, and she couldn't find those sneakers for me. And I was so mad I couldn't get those sneakers. So those are my favorite sneakers. I mean, I've had 3 or 4 pairs since then. But those were the best sneakers. I never wanted any other pair of sneakers as bad as those sneakers. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so you grew up in Long Beach. Yeah, those 11s were those sneakers. And I mean, even my sister that was here yesterday, she had them. Her mom got them. I used to be jealous, you know. Yeah, but that's just the Concords, yeah. But I've had several pair of them since then. Um, but my favorite recent pair of those were the what's the black and blue ones that came out in 2013? The all black one with the blue bottoms. What they called? I can't remember off the top of my head, right? And I just threw those out about 6, 7 months ago. The gammas, the gammas, the gammas. I want to say that I want a new pair of those. I've had them since their original release. I just threw them out last year because it started to peel. I probably should have just took it to a shoe repair, but I didn't want to. I just threw them out. Um, yeah, the first ones from 20. I know it's 2013 because I remember what year. I remember what exactly what I was doing that year. Um, anyway, all right. So let's go back to talking about this. I mean, there's not really much to say. I think Floyd is going to win. I hope there's an undercard that's good, and I hope that the undercard is not an influencer undercard or an exhibition undercard. I like when they do these fights and they have like legitimate top contender championship slash type fights on the undercard because it makes me want to watch the card more. You know, I remember when like the influencer boxers was starting to become a thing and they had like a bunch of influencers on the undercard and stuff. Like, I wouldn't watch those cards. You know what I mean? Like, get real boxers to be on the card, on the undercard. Active guys, guys that need the attention, like Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor on Jake Paul against Mike Tyson. We need quality fights. We need the co-main event to be a legitimate fight for someone that needs the moment. You know what I mean? That needs the recognition, that deserves to be on the undercard so they can get some viewership and maybe a few other guys. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the right thing to do on the undercard. Yeah, but you gotta admit that Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano first and second fights were classics. Even if you don't like women boxing. That fight actually became the highlight of the Jake Paul Mike Tyson night. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, so that's just pretty much how I feel about all of that. I'm trying to read some of Amir says from Robert Garcia's point of view, the morning that same day, he just was smiling and he made weight. Then a couple hours later, he dropped out in a fight and said he was sick, throwing up. Yeah, I mean, listen, Hitchens, I don't even want him to fight at 140 because I don't see the thing is I didn't think he was gonna lose that fight, but we don't know how the outcome of these fights are gonna be. If he does end up losing the fight in the future, if they actually try to run him back, I don't want to hear any excuses about you being too small. Like, again, you fought at 140 your whole career, bro. It's time to move up, man. Put on your big boy pants. Let go of that belt. Try to get a title shot in your first shot up. And just move up, bro. It's been too long. You've been fighting at 140. You look drained in all your weigh-ins. Like, I don't want to hear nothing if he goes and fights this guy Duarte. And hey, yo, you got Oscar Duarte on the internet talking crazy about you, bro. And everybody's talking crazy. You can't defend it, man. You just can't defend it. There's no way you can defend it, man. Like, you can't defend it. Just move up to 147 and just start over, man. And not only that, but You're gonna be stronger at 47, you know? Like, you're gonna be stronger. Maybe you can stop someone that's a little bit better than George Kambosos, you know? And you running around here and you're talking about how you stopped George Kambosos earlier than everybody else did. Yeah, because he's been beaten down, right? He's been beaten down. He's older. You know what I mean? Like, he's still running off of that one win he had against Tio. Like, enough is enough. Like, no one cares about what you did to George Kambosos at that time. Let's be real. Like, let's keep it 100. We gotta be listen, I'm all for fighters from New York, bro, especially Brooklyn fighters because most of them come from there. All for it. All support of these guys, especially him, because I been knew who he was. But at the end of the day, we gotta be honest with each other here. Like, yo, you beat George Kambosos. It was a great performance, but you can't be running around here talking about how you stopped them and comparing everybody else. It's like, yo, chill. Like, chill, chill out. You know, go to 147. You'll probably be stronger there. You know, your punching power probably be a little better. You'll probably be a little bit more durable. Just go up, man. Please, just go up. Well, I don't know because Shakur was sizing up Ryan the other day and later, and he was basically saying like, oh, he was saying that he's not as big as he thought he was. So if that's the case, then fight him at 47, man. Listen. Ryan came off of coming off a great win, right? Again, his performance as T.O. against T.O. was better than most, right? Ain't no many, you know, Devin did his thing against Norman. Ryan did his thing against Barrios. But Shakur's performance, top tier performance, right? But if you're gonna be moving up, fight these guys at where they at, you know? Because if you go up there and Ryan, you know what? Nah, beat him at his best. Just like when Bud went up and fought Canelo, Bud didn't ask for no catch weight. He didn't ask for no rehydration clause, man. He just went up there and just did it. And he made it look easy. You know what I'm saying? If you sizing them up and you're saying, yo, you ain't even really that big, well, go up there and fight him. And now, and check out the videos I just posted. I just dropped a couple videos, one on Clarissa, one on Ryan. Now we know he has a right hand. Anybody that is preparing for Ryan Garcia, they have to prepare for everything now because he has a right hand now. He has a left hook and a right hand, you know? So Shakur or whoever he decides to fight. And I like the fact that Ryan keeps Shakur. Shakur's name is staying in Ryan Garcia's mouth, which I'm actually surprised at because that's not an Oscar move. You guys agree with me on that? I don't feel like Oscar really wants Ryan to go in that direction, right? I just don't think that's a move that Oscar would want to make. It seems like a move that Ryan really wants to make. But it doesn't seem like Oscar is that's not the kind of way he moves his fighters around. You know what I mean? If they're coming off a good win, you know, he's becoming champion now. Usually Oscar likes to put him in there with a, you know, just put him in there with an easy touch first and then maybe do another big fight, risky fight, or maybe two medium fights, and then maybe put him back in there with a risky fight that could make us a lot of money. That's how Oscar normally manages his fighters. He doesn't do the back tough fights. And even though Mario Barrios wasn't really a tough fight, still it was a championship fight, his first one. You know, Yeah, I was gonna say that, Romeo. Yep, you just brought it up and it was in my head. Cepeda, he didn't want Cepeda. He went public about it. He didn't want the Cepeda fight. Shakur didn't look good against De Los Santos. Then he started calling out Shakur. And then when Shakur beat who'd he beat? Who'd he beat? Who'd he beat? That was good. Let me go to Shakur Stevenson's resume. I think when he came back, was it Harvitunian? Yeah, I think when he beat Harvitunian, he didn't want to smoke again. And I think at some point Turkey and them got involved. He fought Padley, and then the Zepeda probably had to happen. I mean, Zepeda was literally his mandatory. Zepeda at one point was the mandatory for all four sanctioning bodies at 135. He didn't even want Canelo to fight Lara. Yeah, I think Shakur clears. Um, but I do think Ryan would be a difficult, even if he's clean. I think he's still going to be a difficult fight for Haney. You know, I think he's still going to be a difficult fight for everybody else. Shakur is the only one that I'm like absolutely 100% confident beats Ryan Garcia. I think everybody else struggles. I did go back and watch Devin Haney's fight the other day against Brian Norman Jr. And good performance, very good performance. Praised it a lot when it happened. Well, rewatching it, I'm trying to see like how good do I really feel is Devin Haney? Like how good, like where do I have him at? And Brian Norman Jr. just wasn't as good as a lot of people thought he was. He just wasn't that good. Not yet, at least. Okay. Um, Haney didn't have to work too hard to get that win, you know? Um, but he did a hell of a lot better in that fight than he did against Jose Cepeda. Or Jose, not Cepeda, Ramirez. Yeah. You know? Another thing is too, I think Ryan and I think Haney could at least, if not knock Ryan down, I think he at the very bare minimum, he can bust Ryan. You got to remember in the Haney fight with Ryan, he won at least 5 rounds straight. Now, whatever you had him at, maybe after the seventh, eighth round, then it is what it is. But I feel that Devin Haney, you could make a strong argument that Devin Haney won all of the rounds where he didn't get dropped. Well, Haney lost the first round. He got dropped in the seventh. He got dropped in the 10th. He got dropped in the 11th. All right. So he got dropped in 4 rounds and he got hurt in the first. And then I think in between a couple of those later rounds, he was still recovering from his knockdown. So I think Devin Haney definitely won rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You know what I mean? So I think at the very least he won 5 rounds, but I think he is a little better. I think he has the experience of fighting Ryan. Ryan has the experience of fighting him. Ryan's going to be better in the fight, and so will Haney. Ryan will have more than a left hook to offer, and Devin Haney, in my opinion, will be more prepared for the rematch. I think there's also a part of Devin Haney overlooking Ryan, uh, agreeing to fight him, knowing that he had a weight advantage over him while he kept himself down and made 140. He's at 147 now. He looks good. He looks strong at 147. I think I would probably still lean towards Haney too, but I don't think it would be an easy fight. You know, Ryan is quick, he has power, and he has a little bit more to offer. And I do believe that Ryan fought his best fight the other night. I don't know where the fight is going to be at Smooth Will, but yes, it is official that the fight is going to be on Netflix in September. We don't know a weight. We don't know how many rounds. I'm assuming the fight is probably going to either be. I'm a assuming it's going to be at 154 or maybe at a catch weight of 150 or something like that. I don't think it's going to be at welterweight. Okay, so Floyd fought at 160 against John Gotti. And better fitness, I think he can still probably make 154. Right? I don't see him fighting at 147 right now. Um, he's a naturally bigger guy than Manny Pacquiao. So, you know, let me ask you guys a question. Did you guys want an immediate rematch after the first fight? You know, we take yourself back to 2015. Some of you guys were here in 2015, in May of 2015. Right, I was in Vegas that week. Amazing week. Was making content from my hotel room. Take yourself back to that week when the fight happened. And, you know, for the next week or two, we were all talking about the fight. Did you want a rematch? Be honest. Did you want to see a rematch? Or you thought the fight was clear enough for Floyd to just say, like, all right, what's next? I personally didn't want a rematch. Um, I didn't care to see a rematch. I remember the next big thing was about Floyd fighting an easier fight. I think the announcement with Floyd was him fighting Berto or Kareem Mayfield. You guys remember that, right? There was still people wanted Floyd to fight at the time. I think Amir Khan's name was still around. I know I don't remember now, but I remember when Floyd said he's gonna fight Andre Berto or Kareem Mayfield or something. I know that pissed people off. It did piss me off at the time. I remember I did. It did, you know. But I don't remember too many people running around here saying that they wanted a rematch. I don't remember that. What's up, Star Fox? What's good with you? Philly Tree says, A Wave and New Way and Nakatani and Benavides and Zerto is the same day. Is it? Oh, but when you say it's the same day, are you talking about Benavides and Zerto being the night, like a Saturday night, and then a New Way being like that early Sunday morning? If that is, that sucks. If it's like that, then that means I'm not gonna get any sleep. You know, Josh says no. Amir said no. Philly says no. Anna says Manny's great, but he would never beat Mayweather. Yeah, I think Mayweather just has his number. Yeah, Josh, Keith Thurman was one of the guys that I wanted him to fight. I think Floyd should have really fought him. You know why? Because Floyd had already beaten Canelo, so he already beaten a next gen guy, a next gen great. And even though that's probably I mean, now looking at it now, Canelo ended up being the next best gen great. But if he had at least beaten Keith Thurman too, like Keith Thurman's is Manny Pacquiao's one of his best wins. Like, I'm sorry, but that win, like Keith was undefeated. Manny was already old. If he had got that win in, that would have been a great win to exit on. You know, you already beat Canelo, you beat Manny Pacquiao, and you walk away from the game beating another top welterweight in Keith Thurman. I mean, Spence was already around at the time, but Keith Thurman was more established at the time. That would have been a good win to walk away from. Manny beating Keith Thurman was one of his best wins. To this day, I still think that's one of his best wins. That was an incredible win, and it was a great fight. That was a great fight. Because Keith Thurman, I didn't think Pacquiao was gonna be beating him up like that. I mean, like in those earlier rounds, he was kicking Keith's ass. I thought he was gonna stop Keith Thurman, but Keith Thurman pushed on late and walked him down a little bit, closed the space. Keith Thurman is very fast and athletic, but Manny just looked way faster. It was just crazy how slow Manny made Keith Thurman look. Yeah, there was a gap. That's what I say about Manny. Say what you want about Manny and Floyd. They were so good in their primes that even as old men, they still was like still better than these dudes. But out of that class of guys, the class of welterweights, I mean, and this is not including Crawford, because Crawford was still like a lightweight at the time, or maybe 140. I would say, they had Keith, Sean Porter, Kell Brook, Danny Garcia. I think Keith Thurman was the guy to go. I think that was the guy. Even though I thought Kell Brook would have beaten Keith Thurman stylistically, I thought Kell Brook was a bad style for Keith Thurman. Always said that on here, even back then. Thought that was a bad matchup for Keith Thurman. Yeah. No, Mayweather and Pacquiao is Netflix. Yeah. Netflix is putting the money up for that. Yeah, Mir, I do. I do. I still got to do a video on that. I do want to see a rematch. Um, it just goes to show that these guys on 140 are none of them are like clearly the top dude, except Shakur. Everybody else is gonna take losses. You know, I think that Gary Russell could have taken a loss the other night. Frank Martin just showed that even with a new coach, you know, um, like I said on the live show, Mayo, what's up, man? Even I said on the live show the other day, I was like, Albright is clearly good. He's clearly good. If he can look the way he did against both of the Davis brothers, if he could look like this against Frank Martin, you know what I mean? He's pretty good. We need to start including him in the conversations at 40 because no one easily beat him. In fact, you can make an argument that Jermaine Ortiz might have had the best performance against him. It's between him and Keyshawn. Keyshawn didn't look good in that fight. So I think Nair Albright is definitely a guy in the conversation. You know, you wouldn't be mad at Keyshawn won in Devin. I want to see that shit. I'm sorry, I want to see that next. All right, so let's. All right, I'm gonna bring this up. I might as well say it since you guys are here. It's late. I believe Keyshawn is the other best guy. He doesn't have the resume to prove it. You know what I mean? And I know he doesn't. I know I'm basing it a lot off eye test. I think that Keyshawn is the second best guy at and around those weights right now. I think that. I'm going to stick with that. I'm riding with Shakur being number one and Keyshawn number two. I know everybody's not going to agree with that, and that's fine. I think that Keyshawn is the second guy. Shakur reminds me of Floyd. Keyshawn reminds me of Terrence Crawford. I'm just leave it at that. It Shakur is way more proven, so a lot of people are gonna agree with that. But Keyshawn, he has to show us. I think I got Keyshawn at number 2, and I'm most likely going to pick him against everybody. I know it's a freaking gamble, but that's how I feel. That's how I low key feel. Let me call you right back. I'm online. Bye. Yeah. So that's just me. I know this Devin Haney. I know there's Ryan. I know there's a bunch of guys at 140, and I know there's still Tank. I got Keyshawn. That's all I'm gonna say. I Lloyd, they it's Goku and Vegeta, bro. I'm picking Keyshawn. Whoever they line them up with, I'm leaning towards Keyshawn. As long as there's no funny business with the weights, like if tanking them randomly, I don't even know where to put Tank at this point, man. Because Tank, I don't even know if he's still gonna fight. I don't know what's going on with Tank. We don't know what's happening with Tank, man. But as long as there's no funny business with anybody's being drained or anything like that, I got Keyshawn. If Keyshawn is dumb enough to agree to go back down to 135 to fight Tank, even, then yeah, he's probably gonna lose. But if Tank were to say, like, I'll fight you at 140, I got Keyshawn. I got Keyshawn. I don't like putting Tank in the mix because there's no limits like with him. Like, if he goes to 140, he's not gonna fight the top guy at 140. He's gonna fight the easier targets, the easiest target at 140. At 135, it's not many options down there. But yeah, I look at Keyshawn as like, I'm not saying he's as talented as Bud, but he's the mean technical boxer. He's mean. He's trying to stop you. And I think he's better. And I think him and Shakur are sharpening each other up. I really believe that. So I do look at them like Goku and Vegeta, like for real. Like I think Shakur is the only fighter that would probably beat Keyshawn. But Keyshawn would probably give him his toughest fight because he knows exactly what to do. If you're in a gym with a guy and you guys spar each other all the time, I can only I would only believe that Keyshawn would have a better chance. And I've talked about this off camera. I think those are the two guys. I know it's based off the eye test, but that's my eye test. I think Keyshawn is number 2. I think Keyshawn beats no. You guys are naming people. I have him at number 2. There's 1 and 2. In fact, there's a 1A and a 1B for me. For me, is a 1A and a 1B. 1A is Shakur, 1B is Keyshawn, and everybody else, I'm just waiting to see what they're gonna do. Everybody else, probably number 3 is probably Devin, but I have Keyshawn. And it's not who I like more because I love Devin. Devin's a guy like him and his father. I like them a lot. All right, but when I watch them fight, I don't. I let my biasness go to the side. That's why I said I don't like a lot of shit that Keyshawn say and do outside of the ring. I don't like Ryan Garcia at all as a person. Maybe he becomes a better person. He's starting to act like a better person. But I'm just not going to support like somebody that goes on that vicious assault against my people. I'm just not. That's just for me. But I'm not gonna ignore what he can do in the ring. That's not the way I am. Like, if you're a good fighter and I see you improving, I'm gonna say it. It is what it is. Yeah, I think if you put Keyshawn in there with Frank Martin, he's already fought Albright, but if you had put him in there with Frank Martin that night, or Albright that night, or Gary Russell on that, or Andy Hiroka, who looked really good. But listen, if Hiroka can give Gary Russell all that problems, and I'm gonna bring this up in a video that I do on Gary Russell gave him all those problems with fighting the wrong kind of fight. Gary Hiroka didn't have the amateur background or the professional background as a Gary Antoine Russell. And for 4 or 5 rounds, he fought the wrong fight. And those rounds the judges gave Gary all those early rounds. We didn't even know Hiroka can beat him on the inside. You think if Hiroka knew exactly what to do and he wasn't rusty because the guy was coming off, he didn't even fight the whole year last year. If that guy had a little bit more experience, he would have beat Gary the other day. He was better. He's better than Gary. He just didn't have the experience. He fought the wrong fight. But his highs were better than Gary's highs of the fight. He just wasn't consistent. Gary corner and his experience won him that fight. Gary's experience and his corner won him that fight. Hiroka actually ended up being I did a breakdown. I said, like, this is 50-50, but we got to go with Gary because he just knows he has the experience. Hiroka, he's not even active. He's not fighting anybody over there. And he was still able to do that good. Hiroka's better. He has a higher ceiling than Gary Antoine Russell. Yo, what the hell was going on with those body shots, bro? He was tearing Gary up with those body shots. Oh my God. Who I didn't watch anybody make content on it. I think I saw Wood video. That was it. No one predicted for Andy Hiroka to come in here and punish this guy's body like that. No one predicted that. I don't care. Nobody was gonna be like, yo, Andy needs to stay in the pocket and uppercut him and punish him to the body. This guy was hitting him like 10 times in a row to the body. Gary had no answer for it. That's what I said. All these guys at 140, I'm like, man, I think Keyshawn could beat them right now. That's including T.O. as well. I think Keyshawn beats T.O. And I would have told you that before the Shakur fight. I think Keyshawn beats T.O. I don't know. Something about, you know what it was? It's those last two fights. It's something about the way he manhandled Lemos like that. Just like, all right, all right, I'm really paying attention. But then when he beat Jermaine Ortiz like the way he did, and I know Jermaine lost most of the big ones, right? Jermaine beat Albright. He's been hurt, he's been down. But Jermaine did good against Lomachenko. You know what I mean? Jermaine looked good against Lomachenko. Obviously, he ran a lot against Tio, but Tio didn't have an answer for it. But the way Keyshawn beat Ortiz and Lemos, I think he can do both. I think he can hurt you and he can outbox you. Like, he's good. He's good. Oh, I love Andy Cruz. He just wasn't strong enough in that fight. At some point, as good as he is, his lack of power is going to be a problem. you know. But we got time. Listen, this is all just speculation. We could all be wrong. I say this today, and then maybe Andy Hiroka gets stopped in his very next fight. You know what I mean? Or maybe Keyshawn fights Devin Haney, and Devin Haney just schools him easily. You know what I mean? The thing about Devin Haney that's good and could throw off any good boxer, not just like aggressive fighters and stuff and punchers. The thing about not Andy, I'm sorry, Devin Haney is Devin Haney knows how to take you out of your game. So even if you're a good boxer, right? The slower the fight is, the more even it becomes. Even if you have certain abilities over him, right? Because Devin has a great jab, he's great at controlling the distance. But one thing that Devin knows how to do well is tie you up and throw your rhythm off. He does little things in there that throws off your rhythm. I don't think his ability overall offensively is the key. I think he knows how to, like the Brian Norman Jr. fight. He let his hands go a lot less in that fight than he's done in other fights, but he made the punches count and he knew when and when not to, like he knew when to tie up. You know what I mean? And Brian really didn't have an answer for it. Yeah, Mario, well, I agree. I think Andy is he just needs a little bit more time as a pro. Like I think he caught Raymond. I think, I was wrong on the breakdown, but in the breakdown, I pretty much said like most, if not all people had Andy winning. Um, I think people were underestimating Raymond, and I'm like, the gap between skills is not that wide between them. Andy was more skilled to me, but Raymond had a lot of power. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes the strength and power advantage is just enough to put you over. And even though they both landed some good clean shots, and Andy did show some good durability there, Raymond was able to just be more consistent and was able to come forward because he had the power edge, you know. But we'll see with time. I think we're all gonna have our picks. It's hard to really put Tank in the conversation because all his legal issues. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't. It's gonna be really hard to touch Tank right now, especially for anyone, any promoter or any network outside of the PBC. It's gonna be hard to really deal with Tank right now. So it's really hard, and it's sad. Like I said, I was just watching the Ryan Garcia video. I mean, Ryan Garcia fight earlier, and I was saying to myself, like, damn, I really want to see Tank back in the mix. But I don't know. I want to see him back in the mix, but and another person I don't bring up enough is Lamont Roach, and the reason why I don't bring him up enough is he's definitely in the mix of all of these fighters. Um, I think Lamont Roach should be at 135 though. He shouldn't go back down to 130, but he should be at 135. I think he should be there fighting the Andy Cruzes of the world. Obviously I wanted to see the Tank rematch, but I doubt he does so well at 140. Just my opinion. I don't think he does that well at 140. You know, just my opinion. But it is what it is. No, I know that's an unpopular opinion of mine about Keyshawn and Devin. It's an unpopular opinion. I just think I have Keyshawn up there a little ahead of where most people, and I like Devin better as a person, but I like Keyshawn better as a fighter to me. That's just an unpopular opinion I have. He doesn't have the experience of Devin, and it might be too soon. All right. All right. Listen, guys, I'm gonna get on out of here, man. Yeah, have a good night. I'll have some content up for you tomorrow. All right, but I'm gonna get some rest. I am tired. And yeah, I hope you guys didn't do too bad. If you're up here on the East Coast, I hope you didn't do too bad with the snow. Um, Snow was crazy. Snow was just almost pretty much as bad as the other one from earlier this year. Right. So I hope everyone is safe, and I hope you guys have a great week. And I'll see you guys soon. Please subscribe, hit the thumbs up on your way out if you can do me that favor. Everybody, hit the thumbs up, and I'll see you guys soon. Y'all have a good night. Peace.